It's time to talk about spending. We preview Cubs Giants, check in on the standings, and more.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Remember, this episode is prior to the Cubs-Giants series. We'll be back with game coverage following Tuesday night's game. 3 late starts in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we'll cover all that series beginning Tuesday night. Cubs have spent $233 million and ranked 10th in luxury tax payroll. For this current team, that is 37-41 on the season and on pace for 77 wins. That would be a 6-win drop from 2023 when they won 83. And symmetry here because the Cubs are 10th in payroll, and they also, entering Monday's play, have the 10th worst record in baseball right now. I'm going to give you the payroll rankings for these 10 worst teams in a couple minutes, Sam. But we're going to talk about payroll versus performance a little bit before getting into some other news and notes before Cubs Giants.
Yeah, I think, the payroll thing's a tricky situation. I think the angle I want to go with payroll is, yes, it's frustrating that they haven't spent more. Yes, it's frustrating they won't go over the first luxury tax. However, they have enough money on this team where they should be better than this, right? We allocate, we use that phrase all the time, intelligent spending. And the Cubs,
they used it.
Yeah, the Cubs haven't used they haven't done that. Kyle Hendricks and Smiley and Mancini and Barnhart and Happ and Swanson and all these guys, they've spent. If you're pounding the table and say they should spend more money and to correct their mistakes with spending, I'm not telling you you're wrong. It should be a cash cow. I think the point I've been trying to make is that they've spent enough where they should be significantly better than what they are.
Absolutely. Where have the dollars been allocated, and have they been used either resourcefully or even just used well? And I'm not really on the Tom Ricketts is cheap train. I'm more of on the who are you spending on train, because we see what's happened to the ballpark, around the park, of course, down in Mesa, Arizona. And there's been several significant upgrades for this franchise, both on and off the baseball field. But I think what you're describing it as is really the most accurate way, and what frustrates me the most right now, especially when you do play the scoreboard like this. And the 10 worst teams right now, and I'm going to give you the 10 worst followed by their payroll ranking, and you'll see in this list teams that are not supposed to be good. The Cubs were supposed to be good. They were supposed to be in contention, and as we will talk about this segment, maybe that does still occur. But the Cubs are the 10th worst team right now. They have the 10th in payroll. Tigers 28, Reds 27, Giants 7. Okay, so I'm sure that fan base is doing some hem and haw as well. Blue Jays 9, that sticks out for sure. Angels 15, A's 30. Marlins 25, Rockies 16, and White Sox 24. So those are the payroll rankings for the 10 worst teams.
Yeah.
The Cubs just shouldn't be in this group. It'd be one thing if we were just saying, hey, spend it on better players, or hey, here are the consequences of just having nice players. And I think we're certainly seeing that. But when you're with the Angels, Marlins, Rockies, White Sox, some of these other clubs that are even are on the precipice of rebuild, like maybe even a Tigers or a Reds. You weren't supposed to be in this surplus of teams. You just weren't.
Yeah, I think it's two things can be true. It's hey, they could spend more money, and they also should be better with the way that they are. And we could dive into so many different things. I think there is an element of that. The players just have to perform better. Like the guys that they paid for. Like, I got to tell you guys, when the Cubs signed Ian Happ, a lot of people were pounding the table for that. Remember early last year, every time Ian Happ got hit, extend Ian. When the Cubs re-signed Cody, a lot of people were pounding the table for that. I don't think tons of people were pounding the table for Drew Smiley.
No.
Hendricks had a good season last year.
Right, he did 3.5 ERA.
The Mancini thing was a bit odd and whatnot, but a lot of people wanted Dansby Swanson. So
yes,
I look. Jed's responsible, of course. I said it yesterday. Tom's responsible. Carter, the players, but at some point, like, Dansby Swanson was pretty good last year. He hasn't performed. Nico Horner has been a pretty good player in a Cub uniform. He hasn't performed. So, to me, it's a mixture of, spending on the wrong guys, but also guys that just all are underperforming at once. And it's just been the perfect storm of pure mediocrity so far. But it's only June, Dansby.
Jed Hoyer is someone I did some more reflection about prepping for this show here on a Monday. And his contract is up after the 25 campaign. At what point, Sam, do we as fans ask the question of his performance as president of baseball operations? I certainly think he's too practical, maybe
probably
for
last year,
his own good.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the F word, and that's failing, this is a clean show. When do we check in on that type of question? Do we wait till after this season? Is it fair to meander about now? Because he only has a season and a half to his ledger officially left.
I think when you look at Jed's tenure, the first thing you look at was the hard decision to remove yourself from the core. Okay. Yes. And then he bought himself some time. So you can't count the second half of 2021. And I think 2022 was a year you couldn't really expect much. Right. So I thought 2023 was the first year to evaluate truly this team, how good is this team going to be? And I came away from the 2023 season thinking this was a playoff team that underperformed ultimately. And so I gave Jed Hoyer a huge pass, and I decided to blame the manager on that. And so did he. I think 2024's failures so far are now where you really have no other choice but to then look at who's running the organization, because you have the shiny manager, you have the momentum from last year and wanting to fail. To answer your question, I think to save his job, they have to make the playoffs this year. And I think if they don't, that means that they'll probably be under like 82, 81 wins. And I think at that point, you can't leave a guy with 1 year left on his deal. You either extend him or you let him go. And I think that there has to be a real conversation about that if this team ends up with 78 wins.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And this might be, I mean, we called last week a breaking point. You even described it as rock bottom on the air. But if there was truly this is like really make or break time, really rock bottom or stuck, or hey, we're back in it time, it really is the next 20 games. There's 20 games till the All-Star break, which, by the way, means the Cubs will have played 98 games at the break, which is way more than usual. They did start on March 28th, which means there are only is a relative term in baseball, only 64 games in the second half and 10 until the trade deadline when they resume play after the ASG. But they have the Giants, Brewers, Phillies, Angels, Orioles, and Cardinals. And I have to say, and I'm glad you laughed, because I think these markers, whether they're arbitrary or not, it's become stupid.
No, it's dumb.
Like, this team stinks.
Yeah.
And you know who's been on a heater, Sam, that I did cut, edit, and clip, and I'm going to play here on the show?
David Kaplan.
Clifford Floyd.
Oh,
well, David Cap has been great.
Yeah.
Cliff Floyd has been on a heater, and he's
he has.
You know, it doesn't say Cubs at the top of his check, but Marquee is the closest thing you get to that.
Sure.
And here's what he said Sunday night after another debacle on the north side.
I think what's frustrating is as soon as the team gets down early and there's a couple runs scored against them, it feels like it's 10-0. It feels like the fight is gone. And you know, when you think about the starting pitching, that's been, you know, the all-star of the first half. You know, they've been tremendous. So very frustrating to watch a team on a really special day come out a little flat.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, with Sandberg, you know, statue and all that his day. So I don't know. It just seems like every time the team gets down, they sort of feel like they're out of the game as opposed to what we saw yesterday. Sure. That's the fight that I thought this team was about, and it's just not there consistently.
Yeah, it's well said, right, Sam?
Well, you don't have to say right to me. I've been saying that for months.
There's just not a lot of pizzazz.
There's just not a lot of something.
Oomph.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was tackled well, and I agree with Cliff Floyd.
What we did mention it on Sunday night into a Monday new week here on the show, but what was mixed in with all this on-field play and that we're talking about, we're questioning, is yet another injury. Mark Leiter to the IL with the right forearm strain. He allowed 8 runs in his last 4 appearances.
Right.
He already made 32 appearances after pitching in 70 games last year. You know what? I couldn't even look up how many guys this is on the IL now.
Well, and it's just the reason we've glossed over the injury is because he's pitching so bad. It seems like these guys always get these injuries after they've been struggling. And so it just marks the question, okay, were they pitching through something that you forced it? Because we know if Nico Horner continues to struggle, they're going to come out and say, oh, it's the hand. And then it's like, fine, then why was he playing? So it's just hard. It's hard to just like to evaluate it. Is he actually like, was it bothering them then? Did it happen his last start? I don't know. You know, I mean, his last outing. So
is he pitching too much? Which is something that I've thought about. Leiter, Almonte, Merriweather, and Alzolay all on the injured list. That was supposed to be the better half of the Cubs bullpen in 2024.
Jeez.
Let's preview Cubs and Giants out in San Fran next.
This episode is brought to you by Tax Network USA. Here on Locked On Cubs, we pride ourselves on getting you the latest news for your team, whether it's good news, haven't been a lot of that, bad news, offseason, the draft, spring training. It's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals at Tax Expert USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. That's tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in this episode for a description.
This episode's also brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trade, supplyhouse.com. Supply House is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the biz and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks. That's SupplyHouse.com to get to Supply House today. The Cubs play the Giants at 8:45 p.m. Central Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 2:45 Central Thursday. You can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. That's right. The Cubs do begin a 4-game series Monday night with the Giants. No official probables, even as we're recording here at about 2:30 Central Standard on a Monday afternoon.
It looks
No
like
official...
for tonight, it's going to be that opener, Eric Miller.
Oh, Eric Miller's going again for the Giants. Jordan Hicks is the only probable starter. He's going on Thursday for them. Starting pitching situation, which is the reason why they're throwing another opener Monday, and maybe even Tuesday, Wednesday. They do that again or call somebody up from the farm, is because their starting pitching situation is in major trouble. With that being said, though, I did find it interesting the Cubs have put out only 2 probables for this series. Justin Steele on Monday, Kyle Hendricks Tuesday. Shota Minaga and Jamison Tyon's natural turn in the rotation would be Wednesday and Thursday. So hopefully those guys are healthy and able to go, unless the Cubs, tried to do something up to something of their own. Giants, Sam, have lost 5 games in a row. I would like to say that they could get some wins in the late night as we're all, well, not us, but as everybody's sleeping, and they could go into Milwaukee with some momentum. But I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I feel the same way. You know how I am. I don't love playing a team coming off 5 straight losses, but you actually gave them 2 of those 5 losses. They are not a team right now that's clicking at all, and you don't have to face any overwhelming pitchers. And even Jordan Hicks has really began to struggle a little bit. So on paper, you'd think this would be a really good time to get right, go to San Fran, but I've learned my lesson as well. Things I'll be looking at this week, a really rough day on Sunday for Suzuki. We'll see if that leads to a funk or he was just having one of his weird nights and he gets hot again. How will the Cubs line up against an opener, and can Nico Horner in a big ballpark that suits his offensive profile a little bit more really get himself going? And then, of course, if Imanaga pitches this week looking for a rebound. But, if I were any sort of optimistic, I'd be thinking this is a great time to win 3 out of 4 and go into Milwaukee with a little juice.
Yeah.
But that's just not where I'm at right now at all. Giants hit lefties much better than righties. Something to watch for with Steele tonight, although he pitched well against them last time. And you could almost go as far as to say, and I won't, it's like a loser leaves town series, because both these teams have dramatically underperformed their expectation. And it's so early. It's still early enough to where I guess most likely they're probably going to split. It's usually how it goes. So, but if one team loses 3 out of 4, you got to start thinking it's done. For that team.
Yeah, we're gonna look at the standings next segment. But for the Giants to be 4th in the West, I didn't peg that. And they've been hurt by injuries too, like Snell and Ray, both rehabbed on Sunday. But still, it's just it's been a strange year. I think the bad news for me is like the pitching probables on paper so much favor the Cubs. Yeah. And so then I get super discouraged, like by the computers, like one of those rare times where I'm like, oh, that's not good. Because Fangraphs has this live scoreboard that I look at before each series.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, the computers don't believe in the Cubs 1 iota.
Yeah.
Fangraphs has their percent chance to win these 4 games at 49, 41, 50, and 43, respectively.
Yeah.
I just don't think it should be a coin flip, but that's what it is, or worse.
100%. And that's what it does feel like that.
It really does.
It feels like
they've earned it.
It feels like if they won tonight, they probably won't win tomorrow. And it feels like they lose tonight, they'll find a way tomorrow. I mean, it's just,
right.
It's just, like you said, they just can't get on a roll. So hopefully it changes.
All right, well, let's check at the standings. There is just a stacked clump of teams, especially for the NL wildcard. Take a look next. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, and then watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season is well underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry. PrizePicks is really simple to play, with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 by using code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Brewers are still firmly in first place in the NL Central. They're now up 5 games over the Cardinals. Cubs are 8 games out. Here are the 9 teams that are within 4 games of the second and third wild card spots. Currently in this order: Cardinals, Padres, Nationals, Diamondbacks, Mets, Pirates, Cubs, Reds, and Giants. And there will be a quiz on this later in the show. I want to say that 81 wins wouldn't get a team into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's going to be much more than that. I am still conflicted about the prospect of that, Sam.
Right.
And there's still a glimmer, like just barely a thread to hold on to, that if the Cubs were to play better,
It's got to get hot.
you'd be able to track this.
Yeah.
And listen, the Cardinals have gotten hot. The Padres have. Where did the Nationals come from?
Mets.
The Mets are really doing well. The D-backs have done better.
You win 15 out of 20. You're in the playoffs by 4 games. You feel great.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be a lot good breathing room.
You just got to get hot, but they haven't shown the ability to get hot. So what's the point of talking about it? From a true talent perspective, I think it should be Arizona and San Diego for those last 2 spots after Arizona. San Diego's just got a really good team, and we saw what Arizona was capable of last year. Those are the 2 teams, I think, from a true talent perspective, that are the best of the bunch, but it hasn't played out that way. I think St. Louis will come down to earth. I just don't think they're that good. The Cubs really got their season underway with the way they played. But, I would love to talk about that stuff. Go in and win 4 in a row in San Fran. We can look up at the standings and have some fun until this team shows that they have the ability to win 7 out of 8, 12 out of 15, 15 out of 20. I can't even, I haven't looked at the results of those games because our team is causing us so much problem.
And the Brewers are a firm 3rd in the whole league. Phillies are,
and they're not even playing that well. They just lost 3 out of 4 in San Diego.
Phillies are the best team in the sport right now. Kind of a cruel July 4th opponent for the Cubs next week. Dodgers firmly in first in the West. And then the Braves are in that first wild card, and I expect them to stay there. And so it'd be those top 4 seeds, and then we'll see who the other clubs are. All right, Cubs Giants this week. We'll be back with game coverage after Tuesday night's game. That's a Kyle Hendricks start, and we'll see what situation the Giants have for their pitchers. That sounds like they are going with an opener on Monday night. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube as we make the push to 10,000 subscribers. When we press record about midnight Tuesday into Wednesday, we might be at 10,000 subs. Smash the like button for the algorithm and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you want more Matt and Sam, consider supporting us by subscribing to our Unlocked podcast. The link to subscribe is in this episode description. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.